So this video is about division using the bus stop method. So I'm going to start with easier numbers and then move on to two-digit numbers when we're dividing. So the first question I have is 1,752 divided by 3. So I set up a bus stop, which we just call the lines that we put the numbers under. The number being divided goes underneath it, so that's the 1,752. And the number I'm dividing by, which is the 3, goes outside. Now, if you notice, in between my digits, I've left big gaps. And that's because when there's a remainder, I put them in those gaps. So first of all, I say, what is 1 divided by 3? Well, because 1 is a smaller number than 3, it does not go in. And then the 1 carries next to the 7 to make 17. I then do how many 3's go into 17. Well, 3 doesn't go into 17 exactly, but 5 3's are 15 with 2 left over. So the 5 times it goes in goes on the top, and the 2 left over goes next to the next digit. You never go past the number, you always stay below it. So now I'm working with 25 divided by 3. If I do my 3's into 25, I know that 8 3's are 24, and then there would be 1 left over to make 25. So the 8 times it goes in goes on the top, and the 1 left over goes next to the 2. 12 divided by 3 gives me the answer 4. So the answer to my question would be 584. Looking at another example with single digits, if I have 4,578 divided by 7, I put the number being divided, which is 4,578, underneath the bus stop, and the 7 outside. Now at this point, if you are not confident with your 7 times tables, write them down the side, because it will help you out when you are going through them. I'm only doing it up to 10 because that's all you need to do. So I use the same method now. How many times 7 go into 4? Because 4 is smaller, it's 0. The 4 then carries to the 5, and I say how many 7's go into 45. I come down this column, and 42 is the closest number I've got to 45 without going past it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 7's. And then to get from 42 up to 45, I have 3 left over. I then say how many 7's go into 37. I look down my times table. 35 is the closest I will get. From 35 to 37, there is 2 left over. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 7's, so that goes on top. The 2 left over goes next to the 8. 7 into 28. I looked at my tables. 28 is there, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 7's. Hopefully one day you'll be able to do it without writing the times tables down the side, but if you need that for the time being to help you out, that's okay. So now if I do some questions with 2-digit numbers instead of single-digit numbers, so for example that would be 4,584 divided by 12. Okay, so again I set up the bus stop in exactly the same way. 4,584. Now on these, just be aware you might need a slightly bigger gap, okay? And the 12 goes outside. Again, I'm going to write my 12 times tables down the side in case any of you are unsure about them and then you don't understand what I'm talking about. So, same method for using 12s. Say, how many times does 12 go into 4? It doesn't, so I put my 0 on top and the 4 carries next to my 5. How many times does 12 go into 45? If I come down, it's going to be stopping at 36 because I can't go to the 48. 36 is 3 times 12. And then from 36 to make 45, I have 9 left over. So now I'm asked how many 12s go into 98. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Gives me 96. And I need 2 more to make 98, which gives me 24 here. 12 into 24 goes twice. So the answer to my question. So the last example I'm going to do now is when you have a larger number, for example, 23,630 divided by 34. The method is exactly the same. I set up my bus stop, making sure I leave my big gaps between my digits. And I place the 34 at the side. I write my 34 times tables down the side to help me out, because I know that if I don't do this, I will lose my trail of thought as I am trying to work out numbers, and then that's when people get confused. So I'm just doing them to 10 times. So what I'm going to do now is I say, how many times does 34 go into 2? Well, we know 2 is smaller than 34, so that's 0, and the 2 carries to the 3, which is 23. 34 is still bigger than 23 though, so again that's a 0, and we carry the 23 next to the 6 to make 236. So then I'm going to say, how many times does 34 go into 236? Well, if I come down here, 238 is just past it, so I've got to go back to the 204. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And from 204 to make 236, I have 32 left over this time. Now that's quite a big number compared to the other examples we have done. So now I say, how many times does 34 go into 323? If I look down my column, 306 is the number before it because 340 would go past it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. If I'm on 306 and I want to make 323, there would be 17 left over. So now 34 into 170, I can see it's there in my list, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So my answer is 695. I hope that's helped with your division.